tracking, tweaking, troubleshooting, testing, the question is usually not, are you doing enough? It's the question actually is, are you doing what really matters? So if you're doing it all, and if you are, I'm talking about the high achieving women who have, who are putting in their best foot forward, putting in a lot of effort, and still not seeing the results. So, and I'm talking about why your body does not need it all, it just needs more clarity. And that's what this episode is about. So if you've been taught that discipline, data, and doing more, are the markers of success, then then you are amongst the majority. That's typically what we are taught in schools, and that works. Of course, it works in the professional life, in sports, etc. It works. Usually, when it comes to healing, it can backfire, right? And there's a reason for that, especially when we are dealing with chronic health issues, when our body is already in a lot of pressure, it's already feeling depleted, and it's already in a chronic survival mode. It backfires as a result of that. And we, in today's episode, I'm talking about why putting in too much of effort without any kind of strategy, without intention, can keep your body in a survival mode, and the five villains of outdated wellness model that may be sabotaging your health improvements, health outcomes. And that's more coming up in the episode, so make sure that you stay till the end. Before that, I wanted to share a quick story. I had this realization about this myth of doing it all many years ago when I was actually doing my master's in business. And this was at the end of the first year, and we had to choose our own roommates for the final year, which was the second year. And at that time, I had made a few friends, and I knew this girl, and she was really warm and kind and nice and driven, and I got along really well with her. She would have been the most obvious choice for me to share a room with for the second year, and yet I went with my gut. And I realized later as to why they did that, but that time somehow I went with my gut and I chose somebody else. And her room was spotless. I mean, her room used to be spotless. Everything was spick and span. Everything was in its place. Not a hair was out of place. Not one thing was out of place. Every book was in alignment and stacked perfectly. Her cupboard literally looked like it was out of a magazine. Like, that's how amazing it was. And yet I somehow knew that this was not for me. This level of perfectionism, or this kind of perfectionism, was not going to work for me. And I am no slob, actually. I mean, I like my room neat and clean, and I try and keep it that way. But I knew that I preferred ease, comfort, and peace of mind more than anything else, right? And I don't need to have the best looking stuff, the best looking clothes, and the best, but I mean, I have other priorities. And I am very clear that I am not chasing perfectionism, because I somehow knew intuitively that that's not something that was going to work. And high functioning women are often chased for their discipline, and I am disciplined. I mean, that's something that I know that works for me. I'm very organized, very methodical, and I also have high standards. I have high standards for myself when I'm writing a blog post, when I'm recording these podcast episodes. I'm very aware of who I'm serving, and why I'm doing the work that I do, why I show up every day. And so my standards are quite high when I take care of my family, when I meet my friends, or how I, so all of that. So that's not, it doesn't take away from the standards of excellence. But what happens is that this drive, if we are not aware that we are chasing perfectionism, can actually become a trap. And over efforting can sometimes become a coping mechanism, and that's not really good or helpful when you're trying to heal from a chronic illness. And when you're constantly doing, your body remains stuck in that mode, and high stress mode. And there's also a hidden danger in chasing perfectionism in the guise of doing it all. And I think Brené Brown has actually summed this up beautifully in her books, The Gifts of Imperfection. I'm going to share it in the show notes below. If you haven't read the book, I highly recommend the book. So she says perfectionism is not self improvement. Perfectionism is at its core about trying to earn approval and acceptance. Most perfectionists were raised being praised for achievement and performance, grades, manners, rule following, people pleasing, appearance, sports. Somewhere along the way, we adopt this dangerous and debilitating limiting belief system: I am what I accomplish and how well I accomplish it. Please perform perfect. Healthy striving is self focused. how can I improve? Perfectionism is other focused, what will they think? I think those last two lines and the last two questions are brilliant. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. That if you are striving in a healthy manner, especially when it comes to your health, it's about asking, how can I improve? What are the ways that I can make better choices, have healthier foods, etc., etc., make better lifestyle choices. Perfectionism, on the other hand, is more focused on others. Like, it's outwardly focused, it's not so much about me. So it's something that you need to think about, something that you can sort of be honest with yourself. Like, are you doing things, are you following certain protocols for the right reasons, and or are you trying to do it all and project this image? Like, we have this image and we are told it's being about a superwoman. I mean, I fell into that myth for a very long time. But why should we want to be superwomen? Right? We don't need to be superwomen. We can be, absolutely, we are enough being who we are. Because somewhere on the line we get the message that it's not enough to be us, we need to be more than what we are. Which is why we have this thing about doing it all, being perfect, being perfectly made up, perfect clothes, perfect family, perfect life, and it costs us in terms of health. And especially when your body is trying to already deal with so many things, this can certainly backfire. So you wake up feeling unrested, like sleep did not actually refuel you. And it's like the whole night you spend chasing a marathon in your head, or your digestion is all over the place. One day it's this symptom, tomorrow it's another symptom. And on another, and you feel this low grade pain that keeps shifting, and it goes from your back to your head to your shoulder. You don't really know what's going on, and underneath all of that there's this constant thread of anxiety that you're aware of. It's like this humming thing, noise in the background. And because you know that you're doing everything right, but you're still not feeling well, and your body still doesn't feel safe. So that's actually the hardest part for most people. It's not just the symptom, it's the uncertainty of the symptoms and what they mean. Because you are doing it all, you're putting all your effort. And again, like most other women, you've probably been told that it's all in your hormones. If you're especially in your 40s and 50s, everything is attributed to hormones, which is really, really not the case. Or you might be learning a lab after lab, thinking the problem is either a misdiagnosis or maybe the wrong supplement, and it may not be that at all. So whether the diagnosis is eczema, Hashimoto's, lupus, allergies, or something else, the real problem is not just the symptoms, right? It's the system that you're healing inside us. And again, I keep reiterating this, it's not that you should not be looking for a diagnosis, it's not that you should not be going to the doctor and getting medical treatment. These are all necessary, but often this is not what your body needs, and this is certainly not enough. Let's zoom out a bit, and let's talk about what's really happening. And let me share with you the 5 villains of the outdated wellness models that may be sabotaging your health efforts. Right? That's what I'm talking about in this, and I've coined these 5 terms to make it easier for you to understand what really at play here. So number one is the protocol overload. It's when healing starts feeling like a part-time job, or maybe even it's a full-time job for you, right? Number two is wellness hustle, where your worth is tied to how hard you are trying, like how much effort are you putting in really. Number three is symptom chasing, where you're reacting to every symptom or flare without really understanding what is at the root. Number four is healing perfectionism, where you're trying to win, you're performing at your best and you're trying to get full marks. And number five is diagnosis addiction, where you're outsourcing self trust to a lab, or a lab result to a label. So the first one, which is number one, a villain that I talked about, which is a protocol overload, is following too many protocols, trying to do it all right, and it just leads to protocol fatigue. And we are not even, we don't even know about this. And I've talked about this in episode 64, where I said protocol fatigue is real, and I'm going to share that in the show notes below. You can listen to that episode as well. The second villain is the wellness hustle. It's quite sneaky and usually goes undetected. Right? This is where our self-worth is so tied up to our performance and the effort that we don't really realize that we are doing this. And it's drilled into us right from school. That's why it's so sneaky. The third one is symptom chasing, which is again extremely common and understandable, of course, because no one really tells you why you need to look at, not only, of course, see what your symptoms are, but just uh, addressing symptoms or managing your symptoms is not going to actually make it go away forever or sustainably. And nobody ever told you that you need to also look at why you have those symptoms and what's really going on. And the fourth, healing perfectionism, is again quite subtle, goes undetected usually. It's where you try to will at wellness, and it costs you, because it costs you in terms of your relationship with your body, because you are actually disconnected from your body when you're trying so hard to be perfect all the time. And the final, diagnosis addiction, is also one that is perpetuated by our conditioning, because we outsource our entire healing protocol and treatment and responsibility to others. So we basically just hand over our responsibility to healing to the experts, to the medical professionals, to the lab results, to supplements, everything. So we don't want to, and we are chasing then one diagnosis after another diagnosis, and hoping that the next one, or the one that we missed, will actually help us get better. So, what I want to ask you is this: which of these old villains are you ready to release? Like, now that you're aware of these five villains, the number one was protocol overload, number two, the wellness hustle, number three, symptom chasing, number four, healing perfectionism, and number five, diagnosis addiction. So, I want you to be really honest with yourself and ask, which of these old villains are you ready to release? So, because you've already probably tried many things, you've probably tried the elimination diets, maybe even multiple versions of it, the autoimmune paleo, the gluten free, the low histamine. Maybe you've taken supplements, maybe even 20 to 30 a day. And every time a new symptom shows up or some shift happens, you add something. You either add a lab, you go to a new expert, and it doesn't really work. And the problem is that it doesn't fit together. There is no it's not a seamless integration, it's not an integration at all, maybe. And each attempt to fix things actually is not working, and it maps to one of the old wellness villains that I just talked about. So that complicated protocol or routine that you're following, without really connecting with what your body is telling you, it's the wellness hustle. Or the hyper focus on testing and symptom spikes is the symptom chasing. Or the belief that only the right diagnosis will finally give you the answers and unlock healing, it's a diagnosis addiction. So while you're doing your best, of course, there's no mistake about that. This approach is not working because it is reactive, not intuitive. It is fragmented, not body led, and it is based on fear of symptoms, not by being connected to your body. So the issue is not that you have not done enough. The issue is that you have never been taught how to listen. And I've been talking about the same theme across multiple episodes, because what you need is not a bigger protocol or more tests or more diagnosis. What you need is a better relationship with your body. And this is the approach that I take inside each and every one of my coaching program. The approach is called the effortless healing approach, because here is where you stop asking yourself, what do I need to cut out of my life, out of my diet or control, to what is my body trying to tell me right now. And when you start doing that, when you start listening, you will find that the changes that you need to make start feeling more effortless, because you're finally going with the flow. You're finally going with what your body actually needs. That's the reason it feels effortless, not because it really is. It is a lot of effort. I mean, there is a lot of effort which goes into it, but it seems like that. And I'm going to share with you a powerful reframe that I use with my clients inside my programs that reflect this philosophy, uh, this approach and philosophies. It's called the reframe your problem. I want you to take a few minutes, grab a pen and paper if you don't have one handy. Stop this episode here, pause it if you need to, and then do this exercise. I did it recently for one of my sessions inside my Body Wise Reset program. It's a 3 month program which is about laying the foundations for good, for health. And we do it together in a safe container. And I did a session on self care, and this is where I made them do this reframe your problem. It was an eye opener for them. It was an eye opener when I first did it. Okay, here goes. The first thing is that write down whatever comes to your mind when I say this phrase, and there's no judgment here. So the first one is, I have to. So I have to, maybe it says that I have to get off gluten, I have to give up dairy, I have to give up gluten because I know it's not really, I have to give up coffee. Anything that comes to your mind, right? Doesn't matter. I have to, and complete the sentence. The next step is reframe it as, I get to give up gluten, I get to give up coffee, I get to give up dairy, because that's good for my body right now. See how it shifts in your mind, right? It just becomes easier to actually follow it, isn't it? The next one is, I should. we are constantly shooting ourselves. I should be doing this, I should be working out, I should be exercising. I don't have the energy, I know, but I should be doing that. I do it. But I've become better at stopping myself from shooting. So this is because I've been using these reframes. So see where the shame or pressure comes in and replace it with, if I really wanted to, I could. Because this opens the door to choice, not pressure. It gives you back the power, right? You feel empowered. And this is a very tiny reframe, but it's radical. And it's actually where you shift your energy from survival mode to thriving, right, to healing. And that's exactly what I do inside my programs, inside the body wise healing framework that I follow. It's a 3 pillar framework, which is based on the philosophy or the approach of the effortless healing approach. It's about real lasting change, it's about real transformation, it's about sustained relief, right? It's not about something that is temporary, because the way you talk to yourself actually shapes how your body responds to healing. Your thoughts matter, the way you talk matter, your mindset matters. So language is really important, and how you have to keeps you under obligation and pressure, whereas changing it to I get to shifts you into empowerment and choice. It's not about just mindset work, it's also nervous system reset in disguise, or regulation in disguise, right? So reframing your this inner dialogue helps you to stop managing your healing like a to-do list, because it doesn't really work. This creates space for what actually works. So I hope that this is, sort of opened your eyes to a very different way of reframing your problems. It's where this is where the relief begins. It doesn't have to do with another test or another stricter diet, right? It's sometimes you just need a reframe. And this lens is called effortless healing. I hope that it's going to help. It's a rebellion against the doing more and being more, and it's a way back into precision. It's a way back into to self trust, simplicity. And that works, because simplicity is actually not about slowing down. It actually speeds healing up. So here's what we covered today. This is the body wise wrap up part of it. And if you really if it's really resonated with you what I've shared till now, till today in this episode, then just share it with somebody that who's been struggling, who's been trying different things, or chasing symptoms, or maybe stuck in this just chasing diagnosis, and just share it with them. So this is what we covered today. Number one, doing it all may be actually what's keeping you stuck. Number two, we uncovered the 5 hidden villains of the old wellness model, which is protocol overload, wellness hustle, symptom chasing, healing perfectionism, and diagnosis addiction. Number three, you've already tried the hard way, protocols, performance, etc., but you have not probably allowed your body to lead the way. Number four, effortless healing, which starts with tuning in. And number five, your quick win, which is reframe your problem, moving from I have to I get to. So I hope that this helped you. And if you want to take a step further, then decode your symptoms workbook would be your next best step. You will learn how to track the right symptoms or the right things, and not just the noise. I'll be sharing the link below, or you can head to aninitarungta.com/decode. That's aninitarungta.com/decode, and I'll see you soon, the next episode.